Dear students, today we shall discuss the subject industrial relations and labor legislations. In this subject, today we shall discuss about Factories Act of 1948. So, under labor legislations, we will be discussing many different acts, so which are very important as the legislations which is being framed as acts. So, under that, the Factories Act of 1948 is the first and foremost act of its kind. So, here the other acts like the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act, Employees State Insurance Act, Maternity Benefit Act, Contract Labor Act, Shops and Establishment Act and the Child Labor Act. So, these acts also will be discussing. So, first we shall understand what is an act. So, an act means it is a rule or it is the legislation formed by the government for the welfare or the security of the workers, laborers or the employees who are working in the industries. So, that we call as legislations. Here under all these acts, no, the majority of the acts, they are related to the labor class people. So, that is why it is called as labor legislation. So, such labor legislations we will be discussing one by one. Now, coming to the first and foremost, that is Factories Act. So, here we will be discussing about what is this act and what are the provisions of this act, then what are the objectives of this act and the important terminologies related to the industry. So, that is why it is called as Factories Act. So, in India this Factories Act was passed in 1881 to provide few measures for health, safety of the children and workers. So, here this act speaks about three important provisions. One is health, the other one is safety and the third one is welfare of the workers. So, and this law was applicable to only those factories which employed 100 or more workers. So, before we proceed, again we have to understand what is a factory and who are all the workers, what do you mean by a worker and the other conditions related to this Factories Act. In 1891, another Factories Act was passed which extended to the factories employing 50 or more workers, and now, so from then the current Factories Act of 1948 is existing even today. From 48 till today we speak about the same act. So, here we have an example of different types of the workers working in different types of the sectors like agriculture, under constructions, factories and in mining, railway, shipbreaking, transport and others. So, it constitutes 1,21,250 number of workers. They are killed in accidents in different workplaces in these sectors. So, why we are talking about this is, so that is where the Factories Act plays an important role. So, that is to avoid such kind of accidents. So, this accident in workplace is not a small thing. So, here that issue has to be resolved. So, for that some constitutions, some rules, legislations have been framed, so that will be in order to protect the interest of the workers against industrial and occupational hazards. So, this was the first objective of this act. Later it was extended to the other interests of the workers by different people, and that we will be discussing later. And the first and foremost objective of this act is it seeks to impose upon the owner or the occupier certain obligations. Why? Because to protect the workers and to secure for them their employment in conditions, in different conditions or in different conducive conditions. So, the different provisions like health, working conditions and working hours, safety, like that. And now let us understand the applicability of this act. The act extends to the whole of India, so that is applicable in both central and the state, in the state, and the benefits are available to persons employed and covered under the meaning of worker. So for that reason we have to know who is a worker and what is a factory. So the factory means, according to section 2 of this act, it means it refers to any premises including the precincts thereof, that is whereon 10 or more workers are working or were working on any day of the preceding 12 months with the aid of power. That is, if a 10 or more number of workers are working in some premises, so from past 12 months, so with the aid of power, or whereon 20 or more workers are working without the aid of power, so that premises we can call as a factory, or in any part of which a manufacturing process is being carried on. So in that premises some manufacturing should happen, so that place we can call as a factory. Here again the meaning of premises and precincts have been given. And now, so we shall understand what is a manufacturing process. So we all know manufacturing process means it's a process of making or altering or repairing or ornamenting or finishing, packing, oiling, washing. So different types of works comes into picture, or breaking up, demolishing, breaking down, cleaning. So all that we can call as a manufacturing process, or pumping of oil, water, sewage, generating, transforming, like that. So why we are discussing all this is because these are the important terminologies we come across while discussing this act, about this act. So now let us understand who is a worker. So worker is a person employed in any manufacturing process, that is a factory, some premises, or a cleaning or any work incidental or connected with the manufacturing process. So that person we can call as a worker. A person employed directly or by or through any agency with or without knowledge of principal employer. So that person also can be called as a worker, so where they will be working for some remuneration. So again we will be speaking about the terms like adult, adolescent, young person, and also where when we speak about a worker, again we have to know the types of workers. So under the types, again we can see different types as adults. So we know who is an adult, and adolescent between the age of 14 and below 18 years, between 14 to 18, and young person means who is either a child or not an adolescent, like that. So again here coming to working hours, so again before we discuss about that, we have to know what do we mean by a day, week, calendar year, energy, and prime mover. So all these hope are very simple and will be knowing. And the very important thing is an occupier. So usually this word refers to an industrialist or an entrepreneur or a businessman who is the owner of a factory. He is a person who has ultimate control over the affairs of factory, and it includes a partner in case of a firm and a director in case of a company. And again that factory has to undergo some approval process, licensing and registration for manufacturing of some goods or services. So for that, so these are the basic things we have to know before we start the Factories Act. And to start with this, now coming to the provisions of Factories Act. So as I said, here we will be discussing about three important provisions. They are health provisions, so from section 11 to 20, and the provisions related to safety, and provisions about welfare. Now coming to the health provisions. So the health provisions here means, because we know that many workers will be working in a factory, because already a factory means where we see 10 or more people working with the aid of power or without the aid of power, like that. So here usually depending on the type of or size of the firm, we can see the number of workers working there. So when some workers are working, then it is the primary duty of the occupier. Here onwards, occupier means the industrialist or the owner of the firm. So, owner of the firm, his duty to take care of or look after the health of the workers. So, here he is obligated to provide the necessary conditions for maintaining a good health of the workers. So, such conditions include cleanliness and conditions with respect to disposal of waste and effluents, ventilation and temperature, dust and fume, artificial humidification, overcrowding, then lighting, drinking water, latrines, urinals and spittoons. So these are the usual the working conditions that we see in a working condition. So any clean maintenance of that always lead to a good health conditions or healthy atmosphere. So that we will be discussing. Now coming to cleanliness. Here, as we know, the term itself says cleanliness is that working condition where we have to keep that clean and safe, and where we have to avoid accumulation of dirt, and refuse shall be removed daily by sweeping, etc., like that. So this is again the responsibility of the occupier to take care. So that is with respect to cleanliness. And with respect to disposal of waste and effluents, again how best, what are the different practices they are following for the disposal of waste and effluents, that also they have to take care. And ventilation, a good ventilation and temperature maintenance conditions is very important. And again we speak about dust and fumes, overcrowding, lighting, drinking water, then urinal. So all these necessary conditions has to be met for the health provisions, health related provisions of workers. Now coming to safety, the second important provisions, so that we will be discussing from section 21 to 40. Coming to the first one, safety. So because just in the beginning we have seen a chart, no, so that which represented the accidental rate of the workers who are killed in the work related incidents. So in order to avoid such things, the fencing of machinery, no, where they are working with where they will be working with some machines, huge machines, dangerous machines, so that fencing and necessary awareness of about how to operate those machines is very important. And so that we discuss under section 21. And work on or near machinery in motion under section 22. And so number of employment of young persons on dangerous machines under section 23, because the occupiers have some necessary obligations while employing the workers. No, they have to look for their age and how many such types of different workers have been employed as adults or as adolescents or young persons, that has to be taken care. And again persons working with striking gears, then no traversing part of self-acting machine. So like that proper awareness has to be given for the workers, that is through proper training and educating them to how to operate the machines. And casing of new machines, it is very important. And suppose in textile industries people working with cotton openers and all, they have to be more careful. So these are important provisions that we discuss under the safety under Factories Act of 1948. The next important provision is the welfare provisions. So here this provision will be discussing under section 42 to 50. So here we discuss about the washing facilities for sorting and drying clothes, facilities for sitting, first aid appliances, canteen, restroom, shelters, lunch room, creatures, welfare officers, and power to make rules. So this again forms an important topic under welfare conditions, because these three, health, safety and welfare, are the three important provisions that a factory or an occupier has to take care. So all these we will be discussing. So this constitutes the Factories Act of 1948. So a question about this may be asked to explain the important provisions. So you have to write all the three provisions. Suppose a separate question about each provision has been asked, means you can write again, explain all these sections in detail for health, safety and welfare separately. So again we'll be here itself we will be discussing about the working hours. So now the working hour has been fixed as 8 hours per day, and any the additional hours that they have to work, no, that will be considered as OT, and for that the workers will be paid for that. So this is about